pleased with. Yani Nabi Yahya. وَاجْعَلْهُ رَبِّي رَضِيًّا. Radiyan, the one who you are pleased with. Yani, Nabi Zakaria is doing dua, Ya Allah, give me a son who will also be a Nabi. This Nabi Yahya. And this Nabi Yahya will reach a maqam where, Ya Allah, you are pleased with him. The word is radiyya, yani you are pleased with him. So, the status of Nabi Yahya is that as a Nabi of Allah, he has reached a daraja where Allah is pleased with him. Now compare this status with the status of Sayyidah Zahra. Rasulullah, when he was describing Sayyidah Zahra, didn't say that Allah is pleased with Sayyidah Zahra. She has a maqam which is even higher than that. Because we have hadith from the Amma and the Khasa that state Rasulullah said to Fatima alayhi salam, Inna Allah la yaghdab li ghadabi Fatima wa yardha li ridaha. Allah is angered with the anger of Fatima, and Allah is pleased with the pleasure of Fatima. Yani, the personification of the happiness and the pleasure of Allah is Fatima. Nabi Yahya is reaching a maqam that Allah is pleased with him, but Fatima is on a daraja higher. Not only is Allah pleased with her, but she is the embodiment of the entire pleasure of Allah. The maqam that Yahya wants to reach to, Fatima is even higher than that maqam. Allahumma salli ala the Anbiya, and then Fatima alayhi salam. I end before we begin the masaib of this hadith of Imam al-Baqir. He says, Ma kummilat nabuwati nabiyyin illa bi-iqrarihi bi-fadliha wa ma'rifatiha wa innaha siddiqatul kubra وَعَلَى مَعْرِفَتِهَا دَارَتِ الْقُرُونِ الْأُولَى. Imam al-Baqir says in regards to Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, there isn't a Nabi from the Anbiya of Allah except that their Nabuwat only became perfected. They were only granted the daraja of Nabuwa until and after they attested to the fadila, to the greatness, and they attested their love for Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It is only after they attested their love for Sayyidah Zahra that Allah completed the nabuwat within them. Isa became Ruhullah because of his ma'rifah of Sayyidah Zahra, because of his love and wilayah towards Sayyidah Zahra. Adam became Khalifatullah because of his ma'rifah and his loyalty to Zahra. And Nuh and Isa, the Anbiya, reached their position because of their submission to the maqam of Sayyidah Zahra. This is why Sayyidah Fatima said in the masjid, "I'lamu anni Fatima." Know that I am Fatima. Read in the Quran, ya Ahibbai. Those people who killed the Anbiya, what is their jaza? Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. Is there any doubt in this? If somebody went and killed a Nabi from the Anbiya of Allah, what would be their position? Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. What is the jaza of those people who killed this Fatima, whose daraja is even higher than the Anbiya? Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. Quran, Hakika. This is the adama of the majlis of this Sayyidah Zahra that you're sitting in. She's the hujjah of Allah, not only over the human beings, but over the Anbiya. Allahu Akbar. And this is why, Ya Ahibbai, the tragedy is even greater than can be comprehended by the mind. The manner in which this woman was treated after the martyrdom of Rasulullah. Tonight I want to recite for you the masa'ib of the door and the events that transpired that led to the burning of the door and the shahada of Sayyid Muhsin. فأنتم أحبائي, I want you with your hearts to travel to Medina al-Munawwara. Ahsantum, Jazakallah for dimming the lights. And it is as if you yourself are sitting outside the house of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, and you are watching all these events happen in front of you. Allahu Akbar. The narrations mention that upon the martyrdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the Muhajirin and the Ansar gathered in the Saqifa of Bani Sa'ad, and they decided to elect and to select a Khalifa from amongst themselves. As they selected their Khalifa in Saqifa, they missed out on the Salatul Janaza over Rasulullah. They also missed out on the funeral and the burial of the Holy Prophet of Islam. As they went on to choose their Khalifa in the Saqifa, and they disobeyed the command of Allah Azza wa Jal on the day of Ghadir, when Amir al-Mu'mineen was appointed as the rightful Khalifa of Allah Azza wa Jal. They selected their Khalifa in Saqifa, and they gathered in Masjidun Nabawi. At this point, the Taghut of this Ummah and the Fir'aun of Ali Muhammad told the first one, the Jibt of the Ummah, why don't we bring Ali ibn Abi Talib to the masjid so that he can give the bay'ah to you in the way that the rest of the Muslimin have given the bay'ah? For indeed, O Abu Bakr, your bay'ah shall not be complete until Ali ibn Abi Talib gives the bay'ah to you. He asked, who should we send to the house of Ali? He said, the second one said, we should send Kunfudh. Why should we send Kunfudh? He said, we should send Kunfudh, فَإِنَّهُ رَجُلٌ فَذٌّ غَلِيظٌ جَافٌ مِنَ التُّلَقَاءِ. We should send Kunfudh because indeed he is a ruthless, a brutal, and a very hard-hearted person. So they sent Kunfudh to the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen to go and get him so he can give the bay'ah. Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the funeral of Rasulullah, had put himself and had placed himself within his house. He had taken an oath and a qasam not to come out of the house until he finished completing the entire tafsir of the Quran as commanded to him by Rasulullah. The narrations mention that Kunfudh came to the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidat Nisa'il Alameen. He stood outside the house and he cried out, O Ali, the Khalifa of Allah is calling you towards the masjid to give the bay'ah to him. Amir al-Mu'mineen from behind the door replied, how fast have they lied and how fast have they taken the title that does not belong to them, for indeed there is no Khalifa of Allah after Rasulullah except for myself. Kunfudh went back to the masjid and said, Ali ibn Abi Talib is refusing to give the bay'ah, and he says that there is no Khalif except for himself. So they said to him, go back for a second time and say to them, not the Khalif, say to them that Amirul Mu'mineen is calling you to the masjid to give the bay'ah.
Kunfud al-La'in went to the house for a second time, and he cried out, O Ali ibn Abi Talib, come out and give the bay'ah, for indeed Amirul Mu'mineen is calling you to the masjid for the bay'ah. Amirul Mu'mineen Imam Ali came behind the door and he said, O Kunfud, you know very clearly that the title of Amirul Mu'mineen cannot be given to anyone and was given to me in particular by Rasulullah. Kunfud went back to the mosque and he said that Ali ibn Abi Talib refuses to acknowledge you as the Amirul Mu'mineen. At this point, Kunfud was sent back for a third time. He said, go and tell Ali ibn Abi Talib to give the bay'ah based upon what the Muslimin have agreed. For the third time when Kunfud came to the house, this time Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen came behind the door and she said to Kunfud, O Kunfud, I forbid you. Kunfud came to the house and he said, O Ali ibn Abi Talib, come and give the bay'ah to the Khalifa of the Muslimin, for indeed if you don't, we shall forcefully take you out of the house. At this point, Sayyidah Zahra came behind the door and she said, O Kunfud, how do you talk to me and how do you come to my house in this way? I do not accept for anyone to enter my house without my permission. Kunfud went back to the masjid and he said to the Jibt and the Taghut that Fatima came behind the door and she has refused us to come into her house. At this point, the narrations mention that Umar ibn Khattab stood up and he said in the masjid, Ma lana wali kalamin nisa, what do we have to do with the talks and the opinion of the women? Astaghfirullah, Allah. At this point, the first one said, Ibn Abi Qahafa said to Ibn Sahak, I'tini bihi bi'a'nafil unf wa in abaw faqtulhum. Ibn Abi Qahafa said to Ibn Sahak, go and remove Ali ibn Abi Talib from the house in the most violent of ways, and if he refuses, then kill him. Ibn Sahak gathered the Muhajirin and the Ansar in the masjid, and they gathered firewood such that if Ali ibn Abi Talib refused, they would burn the house down. The narrations mention they began to gather the firewood and they began to march from Masjidun Nabawi towards the house of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. The narrations mention that 300 people led by Ibn Abi Sahak, including Mughira ibn Shu'bah and Khalid bin Walid and Kunfud, marched towards the house of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. Ubay ibn Ka'ab says, as they came towards the house of Fatima, I began to fear, and the manner in which they were marching, carrying spears and carrying firewood, galloping on their horses. Ubay ibn Ka'ab says, I felt that a big army was coming, and it is as if the land of Medina was trembling from the force with which they were coming. They came and they surrounded the house of Amirul Mu'mineen and Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. Wa wayla ya Shi'at al Muhammad. At this point, Ibn Sahak cried out, Ukhruji ya Ali, come out, O Ali, and give the bay'ah to the Khalifa of the Muslimin. فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ فَأَحْرِقَنَّ الدَّارَ عَلَيْكُمْ. Indeed, if you all do not come out, I shall burn down the house with you inside of it. When he started to shout these insults and cried out for Ali to come out, the narrations mention that Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, she came from inside the house and she came and stood behind the door. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra was extremely weak. Allah. After the istishhad of Rasulullah, the narrations mention that due to the crying and the grief, she had a bandage on her forehead and she weakly came behind the door and she cried out, Mada turiduna wa mada taqulun. What are you people saying and what do you want from us? At this point Ibn Sahak cried out, tell Ali ibn Abi Talib to come out. Why is he seated in the house and why did he send you behind the door? Sayyidah Zahra replied back, Tughyanuka ya Shaki wa alzimuka bil hujjah. I have come behind the door because of your oppression and your evil talk, and that I may be a hujjah over you. So he cried out, tell Ali to come out and give the bay'ah, for indeed if he doesn't I shall burn down the house. Sayyidat Nisa'il Alameen replied by saying, Abi hizbi shaitan tukhawifani. Do you try and scare me, and are you trying to intimidate me with the party of shaitan? At this point Ibn Sahak said, leave the talks, astaghfirullah, he said, leave the foolish talks of the women, for indeed we want Ali to give the bay'ah like the rest of the Muslimin. Sayyidat Nisa'il Alameen replied back by crying, Ya Allah, look at the manner in which the Ummah is speaking to us. She said to him, O Ibn Sahak, how do you have the jur'ah and the audacity to even speak to me like this after Rasulullah? At this point Ibn Sahak cried out and said, Muhammad is no more present between us, and the Malaika are not going to descend upon us anymore. There is not going to be any revelation of any adab. So, and Rasul, we shall never allow for the Imamat and the Risalat to be within one house. So tell Ali to come out, else we shall burn down the door. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra said, will you burn down the door? And the Hassan and the Hussein are with me. He replied and said, even if they are in the house, we shall burn it. Sayyidah Zahra refused for them to come and take the bay'ah from Amir. The narrations mention at this point, Ibn Sahak gave the order for the firewood to be laid around the house. The narrations mention, Ya Shiat al Muhammad, he torched the door of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. The fire began to burn the door, and the black smoke began to creep into the house. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra says, as the smoke began to enter the house, the thick black smoke, I began to choke from the heaviness of the smoke inside the house. Allah, Allah. The narrations mention as the door began to burn, Ibn Sahak kicked open the door of the house of Fatima. Zahra alayha salam was behind the door. He kicked open the door. Zahra got crushed between the door and the wall. He entered inside the house and he saw Fatima with the hijab. The narrations mention that as soon as he saw Fatima, فَلَتَمَهَا عَلَى خَدِّيهَا, Ibn Sahak slapped Fatima across the face. The narration mentions that he slapped Fatima so hard that her eye became swollen until the day she died. The slap was so hard that the earring of Fatima broke. When he slapped her across the face, Fatima cried out, Wa Muhammadah. He says, Ibn Khattab says, when I heard the cry of Fatima, I was going to turn back, but then I remembered my hatred for Ali ibn Abi Talib and the manner in which he killed the Sanadid al-Arab. He says, so I turned back and I kicked the door for a second time. The narration mentions, فَأَسَّرَهَا بَيْنَ الْبَابِ وَالْجِدَارِ. He crushed Fatima between the door and the wall. Ya boy, the hadith mentions that there was a nail protruding from the door. There was a nail protruding from the door. This nail punctured the lung of Fatima al-Zahra. She fell down to the ground. The narration says he came in again. فَرَفَسَهَا بِرِجْلَيْهِ. He kicked Fatima in the stomach with all his power. وَمُحْسِنًا, Muhsin became shaheed. Fatima
the heart to listen to this. Yeah, she had Fatima, but as soon as he kicked Fatima, the narration mentions Mughira came inside. He hit Fatima on the shoulder with his sword, and Kunfuz came and hit Fatima on the stomach for the second time with the sword. Fatima cried out, Ya Fidda! Ya Fidda, Sannidini! Oh Fidda, come and help me! Mohsin has become Shaheed! Wa Fatima, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Mata mein Fatima, mata mein Hussein.
Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Ra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Ra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Fatima Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, मेरी बीबी, मेरी बीबी, तेरे दर पे सर झुकाते हैं। हर हुसैनी का तेरे टुकड़ों पे ही गुजारा है। या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, या तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है, तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है। मर्ग मोहसिन पे भी रुलाया है, तुझको बाबा के बाद उम्मत ने हाय दरबार में बुलाया है। या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, या कब्र टूटी शिकस्त पहलू भी, तुझ पे रोते हैं तेरे आंसू भी। हाय गुर्बत है नील चेहरे पर, और जख्मी है तेरे बाजू भी। या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, दिल तड़पता है तेरी गुर्बत पर, शर्म आती है अपनी हालत पर। मेरे घर में चिराग जलते हैं, और अंधेरा है तेरी तुर्बत पर। या ज़ाहरा, या ज़ाहरा, ऐ मेरी बीवी, ऐ मेरी बीवी, अश्क गम तेरी अमानत है। तेरी औलाद के ही गम ने हमें सवारा है। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है, तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है। मर्गे मोहसिन पे भी रुलाया है। तुझको बाबा के बाद उम्मत ने हाय दरबार में बुलाया है। या या ज़हरा, कब्र टूटी शिकस्त पहलू भी, तुझ पे रोते हैं तेरे आंसू भी। हाय गुर्बत, हाय गुर्बत है नील चेहरे पर, और जख्मी है तेरे बाजू भी। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, दिल तड़पता है तेरी गुर्बत पर, शर्म आती है अपनी हालत पर। मेरे घर में, मेरे घर में चराग जलते हैं, और अंधेरा है तेरी तुर्बत पर। या ज़हरा, ऐ मेरी बीवी, ऐ मेरी बीवी, तेरे दर पे सर झुकाते हैं। हर हुसैनी का तेरे टुकड़ों पे ही गुजारा है। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, फर्श मजलिस पे और मुसल्ले पर हर जवां कह रहा है रो रो कर। फर्श मजलिस पे और मुसल्ले पर हर जवां कह रहा है रो रो कर। हम रहे ना रहे मगर बीबी, ता कयामत रहे गमे सरवर। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, फर्श मजलिस पे और मुसल्ले पर हर जवां कह रहा है रो रो कर। हम रहे ना रहे मगर बीबी, ता कयामत रहे गमे सरवर। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या फातिमा ज़हरा, फातिमा ज़हरा, फातिमा फातिमा ज़हरा, फातिमा ज़हरा, फातिमा ज़हरा, फातिमा फातिमा ज़हरा।
सूरह फातिहा के लिखने से मरूमा ज़ैनब बेगम मिर्जा और जुमला मोबियत के बाद
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خاتم الأنبياء، السلام عليك يا مولانا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب قسيم النار والجنة. السلام عليك يا سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام. السلام عليك يا سيدة خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين حقا. السلام عليك يا إمام حسن المجتبى سيد شباب أهل الجنة. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا أبا عبد الله الحسين المظلوم المقتول بأرض كربلاء. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. السلام عليكم يا شهداء كربلاء جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أئمة الهدى وولاة أمر الله. السلام عليك يا إمام علي بن الحسين زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا إمام محمد بن علي باكر علوم النبيين. السلام عليك يا إمام جعفر بن محمد أصدق الصادقين. السلام عليك يا إمام موسى بن جعفر الكاظم حبيس الظالمين. السلام عليك يا إمام علي بن موسى الرضا ناصر الدين. السلام عليك يا إمام محمد بن علي الجواد شاب أهل البيت. السلام عليك يا إمام علي بن محمد الهادي علم الهدى. السلام عليك يا إمام حسن بن علي العسكري المظلوم في حياته وبعد موته. السلام عليك يا مولانا القائم الحجة المنتظر المهدي. اللهم عجل لولينا الفرج واجعلنا من أنصاره ومن أشيائه ومن الضابين عنه ومن المستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم بحقه تقبل منا أعمالنا واغفر لنا ذنوبنا واشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.